In today's breakdown, we're diving into the end credit scene from Raising Kanan Season 5. The one featuring younger versions of Rock, Marvin, Lou, Jukebox, and Kanan himself. This is the moment Rock gave birth to Kanan, and it carries a far deeper meaning than it might seem at first glance. It's the moment Rock promised her newborn son that she would always protect him. A vow that echoed through every episode that followed. Before the wars, before the lies, before the bodies, before Rock built her empire, she made one simple promise: to protect Kanan no matter what. And that's the image Raising Kanan chose to leave us with. Not Kanan standing over Marvin. Not Kanan standing over Rock. Not Jukebox standing over Rock. Or that final gut-wrenching conversation between Rock and Kanan. Tucked after the credits, the last thing we see is a young Rock cradling baby Kanan, promising to protect him forever. A beautifully poetic bookend for the entire series. The show began with Rock protecting Kanan. It ends with Rock promising to do exactly that. So that's our focus today, the end credit scene, and why it means so much more than it appears to. Before we unpack the scene itself, it's worth mentioning that Sascha Penn addressed it directly in an interview, I believe with Nigeria from Big Gold Belt Media, who asked him specifically about this closing moment. Penn revealed the scene was actually shot twice. Once with younger actors cast to resemble the youthful versions of Rock, Marvin, and Lou, and once with the original cast. In post-production, the actors were de-aged. No AI involved, just old-fashioned visual effects.
The shit that matters most, your heart, your soul, they're gone, and they're gone for good.
Everything I've ever been, and everything I've...
Penn also stressed that the final image of the show wasn't meant to convey sadness. Instead, it was a reminder. This was once a family. He felt it was especially meaningful to close on Rock cradling baby Kanan, holding on to her dreams for him. A story at its heart, about a mother who loved her child more than anything in the world, before life got in the way. With that context in mind, let's step into the scene itself, which opens all the way back in 1975. The show reaches back nearly 2 decades to the very beginning. The moment before the origin story even had its origin. Just as Penn hinted, this was completely deliberate. In a single image, the writers managed to tell us the whole story, planting the seed before we ever see the tree. That's true of Rock and Kanan's bond, which we'll get back to in a moment, but it's just as true of Lou and Marvin. What are you crying about? He just got here. Asterisk. Maybe because he knows you're about to be his uncle. Kick your ass. You really need to toughen up though. Ain't nobody got time for all this crying. Marvin is being classically Marvin from the very first frame. Even in 1975, he takes one look at a screaming, crying newborn. Completely normal behavior for a baby who's, well, just been born, and immediately questions why he's crying. He's just arrived, and according to Marvin, he's already got to toughen up. It's peak Marvin. Sizing up his own nephew for the streets before he can even hold his head up. Already deciding what kind of role he'll need to play if he's going to run with Uncle Marvin someday. Marvin filters everything through that same lens. Even snacks. My mom's older brother can never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity, but he's loyal, and he's always eating. Yo, let's go get this grub, I'm starving. Always starving, that's 'cause I'm busy carrying this whole family on my back. It's a great note to end the series on. Marvin being Marvin, delivering a much-needed dose of comic relief. And we need it, because we're coming off some of the heaviest episodes Power has ever produced. Episode 8 hit hard. So did Episode 7. So did Episode 1, which gave us Lou's death, followed by Marvin's in Episode 7 and Rock's in Episode 8. It was a brutal season, and honestly the entire series has been a tragedy from start to finish, and not just for the Thomas family. Think of everyone we've lost along the way. Dee Wiz, Nicole, Bam, Crystal, Jukebox's own story, Amber, her sister Alice. The lies, the manipulation, the innocent lives caught in the crossfire. The whole show is built on tragedy. So ending on this light, warm, unmistakably Marvin moment feels intentional. And it lines up with exactly what Penn described. The show was a tragedy through and through. And it felt right to close things out on a genuinely happy note. A family simply being a family. Marvin's line about carrying the whole family on his back also isn't just a throwaway joke. Long before Rock ever took the reins, it was Marvin who raised both Lou and Rock, something the show flashed back to in Season 4, Episode 1. "'Cause him being gone meant me having to step up and be daddy to your moms and uncle. Couldn't be no kid no more, 'cause I had to raise Rock and Lou." Marvin carried the family because Elijah Thomas had checked out, and he did whatever it took to raise Rock and Lou by necessity. Their parents simply weren't there for them. Joyce Thomas checked out too for a stretch. So Marvin stepped up, exactly as he says in this final scene. He didn't just do it because he had no other choice. He did it because loyalty is baked into who he is. Long before Raising Kanan even began, family always came first for Marvin. He wasn't perfect. Early on, he was the guy who never missed a chance to miss a chance. But across the show we watched him grow, and we saw just how much his family truly meant to him. Long before his redemption arc, long before we reached 1991, Marvin took it upon himself to look out for Lou and Rock and keep them safe. A responsibility that technically belonged to Joyce after Elijah's death, but one Marvin carried anyway, just as he says in both Season 4 and again to Rock in Season 5. Big brothers protect their little sisters. "I'm your big brother, Raquel." Asterisk. He told Rock she never had to question his loyalty. His job was to protect his baby sister. She might be the one calling the shots, but as the eldest, protecting her is simply his instinct, and it's something he never stopped doing. He eventually did a short stint in prison for selling out of his own place, but a lot of that traces back to the sheer pressure stacked on his shoulders at such a young age. He was still practically a kid himself. Just look at 1975. He's raising his own son, Juke, alone after Kenya left, while also raising Lou and Rock at the same time. That's an enormous weight to carry so young. But it's symbolic, and it also gives us that same comic warmth Marvin brought to the show throughout. The conscience of the family. Lou was always the one who cared. We saw that as far back as Season 1, with Jukebox and plenty of others. He was consistently there for his family, always flying the Thomas flag. And the way his arc was written, he became the emotional center of the entire show. Sascha Penn has often described him as the conscience of the family. Even in Season 1, Episode 1, you can see Rock glancing at Lou to check whether Marvin's story checks out. She'd go to Lou for confirmation. But it's also clear how deeply she cared for him. He was the youngest, and someone Rock genuinely loved. So when Lou died in Episode 1, it hit hard. We watched Marvin identify his body. We saw him break down alongside Jukebox. Rock lost a piece of her heart in that moment. The point where everything truly began to unravel. You could argue it started unraveling even earlier, back in Season 1 or before. But up until then, Rock always seemed to find a way through. Losing Lou changed that. It broke both her and Marvin, who stepped into the role of the family's voice of reason once Lou was gone. The promise that defined Rock. "I ain't never gonna let nothing bad ever happen to you." Now for Rock, and the words she spoke to Kanan. He could cry all he wanted, but she was here, and she always would be. She promised she'd never let anything bad happen to him. "Remember, it's me and you always." And what makes this moment both heartbreaking and beautifully genuine at the same time is this. Throughout Raising Kanan, we've constantly questioned Rock's true motives. With Kanan, with Jukebox, with Marvin, with Lou, with everyone. Some argue she only kept seeing Juke to stay close to Kanan. I never quite bought that. I think she genuinely cared for Juke. Others point to how she used people to get what she wanted, slotting them into positions that served her. Panessa even accused her of using people like Highpost and Defcon before disposing of them. You could make a solid case that every move Rock made served some hidden agenda. But not here. Not in 1975, in that hospital room, holding her newborn son. There's no hidden agenda in that moment. No angel. No calculated move. Just genuine unconditional love. And that love is what mattered most to Rock, something we saw play out across the entire series. In the early seasons, she wore Kanan's name around her neck. At some point, I believe around Season 4, she stopped wearing it. But after her moment with Kanan in Season 5, something I noted in the Episode 8 breakdown, she started wearing it again, because the one thing that ever truly mattered to her was Kanan. Even Marvin said as much to her in Episode 7. The promise she made in 1975 defined her. Rock was relentless in protecting her son, no matter the cost. Even when that cost came at someone else's expense. When Kanan and Dwiz killed Buck 20 in Season 1. The walls started closing in because the streets demanded a body. Rock protected Kanan by sacrificing Dwiz, giving up her son's best friend, because there was no clean way out. She made the call that had to be made, driven by the promise she made back in 1975. But her protection didn't stop at Kanan. It extended to Lou and Marvin too, like when Marvin's involvement with Marco Belli, tangled up with the Tony Deep situation, ended with Marco Belli dead and Solly demanding Marvin in return. Rock being Rock, she didn't just shield Kanan. She repeatedly protected her brothers as well. Now there's absolutely a version of this story where Rock bears real blame. She's far from perfect, and we'll dig into her flaws in a separate breakdown, no doubt about that. But you can't deny she consistently tried to protect her family in whatever way she thought was right, not just Kanan. Whether that was the right way is a matter of perspective, and we'll get into that too. Even with Lou, once she truly understood what he was going through, she got him into rehab and eventually let him pursue music on his own terms. It took her time to get there, but she did. Later, as law enforcement closed in at the end of season 3, Howard gave Rock an ultimatum. Everyone goes down, or they hand over Marvin. Giving up Marvin was never on the table for Rock. She found another way out, even if that meant killing the father of her own son. Despite every flaw, every choice, she couldn't walk back, and we'll get into all of that separately. Rock consistently did her best to protect her family and her son. Even in season 5, after Kanan accidentally killed Lou, she covered it up to protect him, just like she always did. She shifted the blame onto Unique when Kanan's tainted product killed Anton Baker in episode 4. A disaster for Rock's operation that eventually cost her Flossy's trust entirely by episode 7. Once the truth came out, she lied to Flossy to protect Kanan. Even while Kanan was actively trying to tear down her empire, Rock never stopped trying to protect him. And in the end, that instinct came full circle, playing a direct role in her own death. A scene of contradictions. I called the end credit scene a happy one, but it's just as much a heartbreaking one, because it manages to do something few shows pull off in their final moments. The entire 5-season arc of Raising Kanan comes full circle here, and it's about far more than just the love Rock had for Kanan. This scene holds genuine, unconditional love, something that was never really in doubt. That part was always real. But it also holds Rock's fatal flaw. Her belief that she could hold everything together through control, no matter the cost, Dwiz being the clearest example. It holds irony too, because the person she held closest to her heart, the person she made that very promise to, ultimately played a part in her downfall. And it holds a lot of truth. Marvin was right. He told Kanan he would die alone. And he was proven right. He was also right when he told Rock she protected Kanan the way she always had, because Kanan meant more to her than anyone else. In the end, Kanan didn't kill Rock directly, but his presence and what he meant to her did. You and me always. Me and you always. That's ultimately what cost Rock her life. Juke witnessed that final embrace, and it's what led her to decide Rock had to die. You'll also notice Kanan stops crying by the end of the scene, because he finally feels safe. Protected. He has no idea what's coming. He just feels secure in his mother's arms, echoing what we saw in episode 8. Rock holding Kanan just as she did back in 1975. That's the thing Rock genuinely believed she could hold on to forever. She believed it in 1975. She kept believing it into the 90s. She was still believing it in episode 8. Asking Kanan if he loved her, listening as he told her how messed up it was that the person who tried to strip his pride away was the same person who wanted him to make her proud. She was still holding on to that belief. Or at least trying to, when she agreed to kill Pina Bernardi to walk away clean.